What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. And today it's a Q&A. I'm not even sure what the number of the Q&A is, but let's do it anyway. Let's start right now. Let's start out with the first question of the day. When are you going to compete in Classic Physique Division, Mr. Olympia? Biko Plo asks. Well, nowadays actually there are Classic Physique competitions not only in the Mr. Olympia but also throughout the entirety of the US. In Europe there are no Classic Physique competitions, so I would have wanted to do one by now, but I can't because they're not here. I would have to go to America. But I have to see about being able to fit into the weight class of Classic Physique because I simply want to improve my physique. And if I weigh too much for that class, I unfortunately cannot enter. But I will never surrender my goal of being a classic bodybuilder. Like Arnold right there. I don't think he could even compete in the Classic Physique division right now. And his physique is my goal. So yes. I hope I can in the future. But for now, I'm just going to focus on my physique to get the best possible classic look that I can achieve. Question number 2 by Bobby Stromer. Wes, are your workouts too much volume for someone not taking anabolic chicken and vitamin S? Well, it depends on the individual. This is a difficult question to answer. Personally, I have always trained with high volume, and soon after I discovered the pump, because I actually trained years just for strength and not really finding the pump. But once I did find the pump, my workouts were even more volume. And I always did well on high volume. I hear some pros say, like Victor Martinez, he actually told me, well, you should actually back off your training a little bit and do 3 or 4 times a week. He said that he grew the most when he trained less frequent. But I personally love training, so I will keep training. I make great progress doing so. And in the golden era, volume was key. I mean, there are rumors that they trained for 3 hours on end. It probably wasn't, literally 3 hours without a break. But the volume was pretty high, and I like to train high volume as well. Now, your question regarding if you're not taking anabolic chicken and vitamin S. The only difference with taking that is that you recover faster and you become stronger faster. So what happens is people who take the anabolic chicken think they recover faster, but what they forget is that they get stronger, they get bigger, they push more weight, and therefore they actually need more recovery because of that. So the net effect is kind of negligible. You do grow faster because of the vitamin S, but the recovery aspect of it, you still need to recover and rest just as much as if you wasn't taking it. So what you should look at is if you're starting to plateau in the gym, if your lifts are not progressing anymore, so if your strength isn't increasing at all for months or weeks, then maybe I should change something. I should either rest more, eat more, or train a little less, or train different. There can be a lot of factors. But as I said, everyone is different. Next question by Jeff Hernandez. Have you ever thought of going plant-based? You seem very health conscious, but still consuming seafood, which is the most contaminated animal product out there. Well, yes. It depends on which kinds of seafood and which sources you use. I try to eat as clean as possible, of course. But to answer your original question, I have gone plant-based for like 6 months before just to try it out. I've always not really been fond of eating meat. I've always thought that it's kind of strange to eat the flesh of a dead animal, but that's just my thoughts that I would think every time I see that. And every time I chewed on something hard, I literally couldn't finish the entire meal anymore. When I was going plant-based, I never had that problem. I knew whatever I'm eating right here, it's not contaminated with something dead or bones or tendons or, stuff like that I really don't like to have in my mouth. So I tried it for 6 months, and what happened is that as my competition prep started, I started adding in white fish for the dry proteins to cut down, to add my protein count. But I never added the meat back in. I simply didn't miss eating meat, and you don't know what plant-based eating is like until you give it a try. Trust me, you won't lose gains, it won't be as difficult as you think, and it won't taste as bad as you think. It actually tastes pretty good. You can eat large volumes of food with the same amount of calories, and you will look and feel better over time because of the extra minerals and vitamins and fibers and healthy food that you get inside of your body. So if you try going plant-based, you might actually learn more about yourself instead of always having the same diet with the same foods. Changing it up every now and then would be beneficial to you in some way. So give it a shot if you are even remotely interested and see what it brings for you. Next question by Daniel Dickinson. Hey Wes, what is your day job so that you can afford your bodybuilding lifestyle, or are you sponsored? Well, I am sponsored. I get my supplements for free, and that's, I use quite a lot of supplements. When you get them for free, you are able to choose different kinds of supplements that you would not really buy normally, that you would not really try normally, but now I have the ability to, so that's why it is really saving a lot of money every month, not having to buy the whey protein, the omega-3s, the CLAs, the minerals, the vitamins, the milk thistle, etc. So yes, I'm sponsored in that way, and next to my YouTube channel, which I earn a little bit of money off now, it's become less, as you guys know, I do personalized workout and nutrition plans. Do you hear those birds? I do workout and nutrition plans, and I make quite a lot of them, so it's quite a lot of income from that as well. And then next to that I have my clothing line on vintagegenetics.com, which also goes quite well, and I am striving to make it go even better for all 3 venues that I'm doing right now. And I really want to make bodybuilding my lifestyle, to really live off of it, which I'm doing right now already. I'm eating quite a lot, so it costs quite a lot, but I'm happy that I can easily afford it with the lifestyle I'm living right now. It did cost me 10 years to get here, but finally I'm here, and it's getting more and more fun. And at the same time, I'm also studying nutrition and dietetics, which I also will use connected to my bodybuilding popularity, my name out there, to reach people and actually acknowledge to them that I have the knowledge about nutrition because I actually studied for it. But that's a whole other plan that still needs to be rolled out. But yeah, that's basically what I'm doing right now. Next question by FCJ Fitness. What are your top picks for supplements as whey protein, creatine and BCAAs? Many companies bring out new supplements, but many people are unsure of the benefits and if they are a waste of money. In general, for the general gym goer, the whey protein, as you say, the creatine, usually during cutting phase, the BCAAs, a multivitamin, minerals, some omega-3, CLA, stuff like that, the basics, that's what every gym goer could take and actually get benefits from it if used properly. But next to that you have all the fat burners, the detoxers, the pre-workouts, which do have benefits, but it's mentally more, and a lot of other single minerals like zinc and vitamins like vitamin E and stuff. They all do have their own function, but a lot of people don't know when or why to use them. So yes, there is a lot of supplements that come out nowadays that are not really doing anything for you, unless you're a competitive bodybuilder who really wants to get the edge, even if it's a half of a percent. If it changes that, a lot of little things together do make a difference. So for a competitive bodybuilder, I would say a lot more supplements would be useful, like fat burners doing cutting for a competition, stuff like that. But for the regular person, those basics that I mentioned would be good enough. Next question by Max K. Wesley, can you explain why you gain fat faster when the glycemic index is higher? I thought that it was all about calories in, calories out, no matter what. Okay, glycemic index only goes for carbohydrates of meals, goes for meals that consist mostly of that carbohydrate. So if you have a meal with a lot of fat in it, vegetables, fibers, protein, and then the carbohydrates, the glycemic index becomes negligible because it doesn't matter, it absorbs slower because of the rest of the food slowing it down. But when most of the meal is that form of carbohydrates, which it often is for me, eating basmati rice, a little bit of vegetables and some fish, then the glycemic index does matter. For a general person it doesn't really matter that much, but for me, wanting to make the most out of my diet, I do want to take a look at these different food types. So what happens when the glycemic index is high? That means that the carbohydrates will be absorbed faster into your bloodstream, causing an insulin spike that is higher. When insulin is high, it will basically put all those carbohydrates into cells that need them, mostly muscle cells, in the form of glycogen. But once all the cells are saturated with those carbohydrates and there's still a portion left, the only way for that portion to be absorbed is in the fat cells, stored as energy for the body. In survival mode, that will be very beneficial because you still have the energy left. You won't just get rid of it, you won't excrete it any other way, you will actually save it. But when you're a bodybuilder, you don't want this extra fat. You only want to use the carbohydrates for energy. So when a food has a lower glycemic index, it will go slower into the bloodstream, be absorbed at a slower rate into the muscle cells, allowing less energy to be left from that initial carbohydrate source to be stored in fat. So because it goes slower, you're still expending energy, which means it keeps going in to the muscle cell because it goes full, you're doing stuff, goes empty, it goes like, it's not really a linear thing, it's really a very dynamic process. But to make it easy, when you walk, your legs burn some glycogen, some energy, and if a slow glycemic index carbohydrate is still being absorbed, that can go right into the cells that are burning that energy. But if it goes really fast, it already is in there before you actually have the ability to burn the energy, and it goes into your fat cells. And that is just a very easy explanation of how it works, leaving out all of the details that actually do matter for people who study it, but to make it easy, I said it like that. I hope it helps a little bit. Next question by Daniel Grime. First of all, it was great to see you and speak to you at the UK Body Power Expo. You truly are massive, especially for your age. Well, thank you, Daniel. My question is, you can only absorb about 35 grams of protein in each meal. Why do you and most people eat more than this in each meal then? Is it just a waste? Well, a lot of people, they think that if you eat too much protein, that it won't get absorbed. I'm telling you right now that all the protein you ingest will get absorbed through the intestines into your bloodstream. I'm going to make a separate video about this because this is a large topic of debate, but I'm actually learning how this really works in my minor sports nutrition, which is based off of the latest studies. So if you eat a meal of 100 protein, 100 grams of protein, it will get absorbed at a very slow rate. So even 6 hours later, you might still be absorbing something from the meal before. For example, whey protein actually absorbs at a maximum rate of 10 grams an hour. So if you take 40 grams of whey protein, or whey protein worth of 40 grams of protein, it would take 4 hours for it to be fully absorbed. So it's a myth that there's a certain number of protein that you can absorb each meal, but it does slow down. So I'm going to make a separate video about this to explain this in a greater detail. But in general, it is not a waste to eat that amount of protein, because people with a higher muscle mass, it is theorized that they need a higher amount of the trigger leucine and other amino acids to actually trigger muscle growth. And if you have an extra amount of protein, you will absorb it for a longer period of time, not causing these gaps, these downhills where muscle protein synthesis doesn't happen. Because you will actually constantly, if you eat every 2 to 3 hours, you get a lot of protein, it slowly absorbs, and you get a lot of protein again. Keeps going like that. That's what's called a positive nitrogen balance, which you may have heard about before, but you know, it's important for bodybuilders to have in order to constantly feed their body protein, because it really doesn't absorb that fast. It goes quite slow, but yeah, I'll make a video about this, explaining this in greater detail. So if you have questions about it, ask it down below, and I will take it in consideration to put it into the video about protein, timing, absorption, ingestion, etc. Last question for this Q&A. There will be another Q&A shortly after this one, but last question for this video by Valerie Jackson. Hi Wesley, love your videos, thank you. Could you do a snippet speaking in your native language? I find your voice so soothing, and I'm interested in hearing your native tongue. Thanks in advance. Well, I am actually going to end this video in Dutch then. It's gonna sound a little strange for both English and Dutch speakers, because Dutch is structured differently than English, so I cannot really end it the exact same way. But bedankt voor het kijken van deze video. Ik hoop dat jullie genoten hebben van wat jullie hebben gezien en iets geleerd hebben. En als je nog vragen hebt, stel ze beneden in de comments. Wauw, ik merk nu gewoon dat ik niet gewend ben om Nederlands te praten op de video. Maar als je vragen hebt, stel ze daar. Dan doe ik ze in de volgende Q&A. En vergeet niet om dit te zijn. Stay golden.